Welcome back to the Real Recovery Show. We were joined here every week at noon, where we talk about a variety of topics that all affect people wanting to be in recovery or already in recovery. And today we're going to be talking about sober living. Here in Las Vegas, there are several houses where people can go and they can stay after they get out of rehab or even without going into rehab, so that they can have more of a communal experience, helping them to stay more accountable and to meet people who also have the same focus, to be able to heal together, to grow together. And it's a really good stepping stone to being able to really put a strong foundation to one's sobriety. And so we're joined here with 3 people here in Las Vegas who have sober living houses, and they're going to talk about all the experience that they go through, from having people come in, what it's like to be in one, and what some of the things that they learn, what they do, everything. So it's going to be really interesting. And so we're going to start off with you, Kurt, where you're going to talk about, this is Kurt Turner. Is that your last name?
Turner.
Yeah, sorry. You just look like I said something like wrong, like I said the last name wrong. All right. Okay, well, so we're going to talk to Kurt Turner, who is going to share about how he got started in having sober living houses, and then we're going to share with Linda Dressel and Marcy Davis, who are also here with us, to share about how they got involved in it as well.
Cool.
Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to start? Okay. I'm Kurt. I am a drug addict. I'm in long-term recovery. I've been recovered for 24 and a half years. I was homeless for many years, off and on. I ended up going to sober living. I was a client with drug court. I was incapable of staying clean and sober long enough to complete drug court. I tried sober living. I lived in that sober living house for about a year, and I saw it as something that I could do. I became manager of that house when I was 3 months sober, not because I'm great. I think it was just because lack of options from people that were living in the house. I was the oldest client at the time, and I saw it as something that I could do. And I've been doing it ever since. It's been 24 years.
Wow.
I've been doing that now. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And so then as you were going, Linda and Marcy wanted to get involved in it. How did that turn out? How did that come up?
That was about 4 years after I had been doing sober living already. Mm-hmm. I started a women's sober living house. The Frog House was actually a women's house first.
Okay.
It wasn't the first house that I had opened. I had a men's house before that. I wanted to try to do women's sober living, and at the time, I don't think that I was spiritually equipped to do women's sober living.
It is kind of an interesting idea to have a man run a women's sober living.
Yeah, I'm currently doing women's sober living now for the last 4 years, but within the first 4 years, it was a little much. Linda had expressed interest in opening up a sober living house, so it was an opportunity for me to give her all my clients that were at the house at the time.
Oh, wow.
I made it a men's house the next day and moved on for several years before
nice.
I tried it again.
So you inherited the women from his house.
I would think.
At least half of them.
Yeah, I inherited a few of them, most definitely.
Well, what happened to some of them? They didn't want to go, or?
Well, at the time, I think you only had a few there. It was because it was challenging for you back then. It was challenging for me back then, stepping into this unknown territory.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was a lot of work in the early days, for sure.
I got more phone calls from Linda than I did any new people I was working with for the first few years.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she wants to learn how to do it, for sure.
It's a lot of hands-on and so many different things going on with different people. Circumstances are different. People are different. It's a lot. It takes a lot of practice and trial and error to adapt to run an effective system.
Interesting. And why were you so interested in having one? Did you ever go to one?
No. and because there wasn't anything available.
Ah,
Mhm.
so maybe just perceiving a need for it.
There was definitely a need for it. When I showed up on the scene, there were, I think it was the Frog House, and then there was another one off of Sandhill, maybe. There were only like 2 women's sober living houses. And I myself have been in long-term recovery 23 years. And when I first got here, I was looking for that. It was suggested to me to enter sober living. I didn't have anywhere to go. Nothing much going on, couch surfing, you know, I was scraping the bottom of the barrel, no job, no support. Everybody, you know, I burned all my bridges.
So interesting. So did they charge you since you didn't have a job or anything? How were you able to afford it?
Well, I never made it there
Oh.
because there weren't any available.
Oh, interesting.
So
Right.
a couple of years in, I reached out to my family to help me to open up a sober living home.
Oh, nice.
And my father was a retired judge, and he worked in the court system in Ohio, and he was very familiar with people that have the disease of addiction. And when I came to him, I said, "Hey, would you guys want to invest in this house? Then I'm going to put a bunch of people that need help, and with substance use disorders." And he was gracious enough, and my mother was gracious enough to help me start the first house, which ironically, he was trying to buy the house at the time.
I was.
Oh, interesting.
The lady, I don't know if I can tell the story, the real estate lady told me, she goes, "I don't know, there was this gentleman that was wanting to buy the house to put a bunch of women in there, and I don't know what he was going to do with the house." And I said, "Really? That's interesting. Okay, so you want to sell it to me instead? Okay. What are you going to do with it? I'm not sure yet." And so I kind of undercut you.
I think I actually called you and said I didn't qualify or something.
I don't know. But,
That's
you know, it's just the way that it worked out. The universe unfolded that way. And I opened up my first house in 2002. I had no idea what we were doing.
Wow.
And I did lean on Kurt a lot because he had that experience. I mean, it is a lot of work working with people
Yeah.
that are still suffering. you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so then how did Marcy get in on the scene?
Well, Marcy.
We tell the story a little bit differently, but so Linda was my friend, and I had a girl on her waiting list, and she was number 14. And Linda knew that I was doing a lot of volunteer work at WestCare, and she thought that I would be a good person to open a sober living, and she said she'd help me. So that's where it started. I found I had my real estate license. I looked at a couple houses. The second one I looked at was absolutely perfect. I brought Linda there. She said, "If you don't buy it, I will." And everything just fell into place. So she helped me with rules, and I probably was the same way she was with Kurt, you know, calling all the time, and she always had time for me. And I super appreciated it. I would not have the houses that I have today. Davis House 1, 2, and 3. And if it weren't for Linda.
That's beautiful.
And I became friendly with Kurt through Linda.
Oh, interesting.
Actually, my son went to his sober living
Oh,
at one point.
interesting.
Yeah, we're all connected.
That is cool.
It's such a small community.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
And so, and how long have you been in recovery?
23 years.
23 years, and you?
I've been in recovery 32 years. I've been sober 17.
17.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you started to talk about rules. What are some of the requirements for somebody? We'll start off with you, Marcy. What are some of the requirements that somebody has to have, either how long they've been sober, or do you need them to have detoxed, or what is it that you look for somebody to be able to be eligible?
First off, they have to be able to pass drug and alcohol tests. But I look for women that are serious about their sobriety, that do well with structure, that want to work a program, that will be self-supporting, and that just, I kind of go with my intuition. I've learned that over the years, to follow that. So yeah, it's just women that'll follow the rules, and so that there'll be harmony in the house.
And did you learn a lot from them on what to
did.
look for? So
Absolutely.
you were the guinea pigs, and she got to benefit from that. But I'm sure you're all constantly learning, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. In the beginning, it was very rough, and I tell all the girls that came through my house the first 5 years, when I see them, I'm like, I am so sorry. It was a little crazy back then, and really didn't know what we were doing, and just a lot of trial and error. And at the end of the day, it's just such a great platform to learn more about ourselves.
Absolutely.
And that's what I've learned in this journey, and it's helped keep me on the right track.
Absolutely. So what are the things that the boundaries you guys have? Do you all have the same ones, or are some of you more lax than others?
With each other or the people
With
who
your
live there?
with your homes, like are you because you have men's homes, but you now have women's homes too, right?
We
So
all
do you
run
have
our-
specific rules that like all of you follow, and some of you more so than others?
I think it's pretty general. We all have a different way of doing things. There's many paths to the fountain.
Yeah.
I do more of a level system, so I like all my drama in one place. But I also find watching what Marcy and Linda are doing when they place people who may not have made it with a group of people that are in the same boat. They aspire to be more like the people they're living with. So it's kind of like there's no magic template. There's no perfect system.
Right.
It's easier for me to have what's the new stuff going on in one place. But I mean, I don't think that there's any perfect system.
Do you have different costs like that you charge for people, like if they're really, really newly sober, or if they have been sober for a bit? Do you have, or anything like, is there any kind of, like, what do you charge per room, how does this work? Pretend I don't know what I'm talking about, because I don't. So how much do you charge? Is it by the week? Is it by the month? How do you figure that out? Is it based on the house?
I'm blessed for being in my houses a little longer, so I have the ability to charge a little bit less. I charge $150 a week and an intake fee $75. I drug test right when they come in, drug and alcohol test. I drug and alcohol test sometimes 3 or 4 times a week, with the people that have been there a little bit longer, less, or as needed.
And do you guys follow the same, or is it depending on house? Or?
It's depending on the house. My older house, Fawn 1, it's, a little bit older neighborhood. It's a little bit more affordable. But we do the same structure, it's the same kind of, you have to pay to move in, $130 a week. It's a 75 intake, $10 a week drug testing for the first 90 days. We do on-site breathalyzing, which is free. And just to keep everybody.
Oh, because you have a breathalyzer that you
I have a little system on my phone. It's hooked up to my phone.
Oh my God, that's right.
It's amazing. It's so
Technology.
awesome. Yeah, should I do that? You want me to do breath test you?
I have one.
We probably should have done that before the show.
Yeah, we probably.
It's too late.
Yeah, a little late now.
Sometimes we wonder. Just kidding.
Yeah.
And so, Marcy, what's your fee structure?
Davis House 1 and 2 is $160 a week, and Davis House 3 is $175 a week. It's a larger, newer home, and the intake fee is $50, and we drug test. We random at least twice a week, and we charge $5 a week or $20 a month for testing. We have alcohol dips that go back 80 hours, breathalyzer, and
Wow.
yeah,
80
all
hours.
kinds of
Wow.
cups that test for everything.
So somebody has to be really serious. I mean, and they really do. They have to be really serious. They can't just be looking for a place to stay. They have to be looking for a committed situation that's going to really help them. You mentioned earlier that you look for somebody who has, who thrives in structure. How do you know when you talk to them?
I mean, you never know for sure because some of these people can be con artists, But again,
What?
I try
Addicts?
No.
Believe it or not, yeah.
I've never conned anyone a day in my life,
Very good storytellers.
right?
I try to trust my intuition. If we have had the same people in our houses, we'll call each other and see if we think they'd be a good fit, if they'd, worth taking a chance on. And you never know for sure. I've had times where I'll have wonderful long-term, residents, and then times where somebody will relapse in the first week, and I didn't expect that. So, Yeah, there
Right.
is
It is
no.
hard to tell.
Yeah.
I've had that with having
No
people
crystal
work
ball.
for me. See, just sometimes the people that you think you don't know they're going to make it end up being one of your best employees for a long time.
Right.
And it's crazy. It's just, you just got to just keep going, running off your intuition and trust God and do the next right step. But you get smarter as you go. Anyway.
The cool thing about us is that we work together. I mean, I admit when Marcy first started, I was like, oh gosh, here we go. Another one, you know, but
Then you got mad at me.
I got mad at
because
Linda.
I was helping her.
Yeah, a little bit. I did. But we've really grown up together and really play with each other's businesses to help each other. Not so much to avoid people, but to help with insight so that we can help people.
Yeah.
It's really not, we're not putting people down or trying to shove them out. We're trying to figure out, like, there's people that do much better at Marcy's than mine. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, Marcy's very hands-on. We're all very hands-on. But I mean, it's really worked out. I don't think that. I think that everybody there wants it. I don't feel that everybody there is capable of getting it at that time. It's all in the timing.
Still, though, even if they don't make it, they have that seed planted.
Exactly.
And it's such a good seed, you know,
Right.
because it's an experience that they had.
If you own a sober living home and they leave for whatever reason and come back, you did something right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they
You did
do.
something
Right.
right.
They do.
Oh, that's good. What is your policy on relapse since you brought it up? Like, obviously you want to have a zero tolerance policy. Well, I assume you want to have zero tolerance while they're living there. So let's say you do the drug test, right? And somebody comes up dirty. What happens? Do you give them another chance? Is it a case-by-case basis? Have you had somebody where they relapsed and then you ended up having them stay anyway because you felt like, the way they relapsed or whatever, and it ended up working out for them?
Well, I think all of us have a base guideline of what we try to follow, but then again, each situation merits its own consideration.
Right.
I've had girls, I was working with a lot of clients from out of state, and when they relapsed, they had nowhere to go. And I'm calling around to detoxes, they're full, and, depending on, how, intoxicated they are, if it's not too bad, maybe I'll let them stay on the sofa and have the girls kind of keep an eye on them. But most cases they have to leave, and it's in their contract that they signed, because when I opened up these homes, my goal was to offer these women a safe place to
Right.
land.
Right.
So they know when they come in the front door that no one there is getting loaded, that they're safe, and they've got all this peer recovery support around them. Does it happen that way all the time? No. We have some crazy stuff go on and some crazy relapses and crazy behavior, but we all signed up for this, and we kind of know how to handle a lot of those situations. But mostly we'll call up one of the treatment, the Crossroads or West Care Detox, and try to get them someplace where they're safe, because there's also the threat of them having an improper detox or
Right.
seizing up or something of that nature, and we're not prepared to handle that.
Right.
We're not a medical facility. We're just
Do you guys have to have insurance to cover if anything should happen in this, or is it just treated like more of a rental situation?
For me, it's like a rental situation. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have commercial insurance.
Right.
It covers stuff like that.
For somebody just living there?
Well, yeah,
right?
I mean, we don't.
But you're not responsible for their sobriety. You're not saying that you're going to detox them.
We have
You're not.
waivers.
Right.
I have waivers that take care of that, but they, we get a lot of variety of people for a lot of different reasons. We get mental health clients that probably need a higher level of care, but there's nowhere for them to go. You know what I mean? So we kind of wing it. So I mean, it can be a cluster of a variety of different types of people, and we do the best that we can with what we have to work with. We're just communal sober living. It's a group home setting.
Like-minded
It's an
people.
opportunity. I look at it as it's my job to help them learn how to do life and stay sober.
Right.
A lot of people aren't ready to do life just yet. But I am not that professional person. I farm that out to professional people to handle those types of situations. I don't try to be the counselor or the the Almighty. I enforce the structure. It's their job to follow it. If they can't follow it, I'll make other higher level suggestions for them. And if they choose to do those, I'll let them live there while they're doing it. But if they don't want to do it and work on it,
Right.
I don't have time for that. I
Right.
have zero tolerance
Right.
for not following the rules and doing the stuff. And I've made decisions that went against my better judgment that sometimes worked out, sometimes didn't.
Right.
I mean, I've been here for 24 years. I mean,
Right.
I've seen everything that
Yeah.
you can see, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And, it's case by case and wing it. And like Marcy said, we got to follow our guts.
Yeah, sometimes it really does take one person to just believe in a person, and sometimes you think that you're that person, and you have the cape growing out of your spine, and you're that person, and they're gonna make it, and you have dreams of how they're gonna thank you later, and it's gonna be so wonderful, and then they just told you what you wanted to hear, and they might have believed it a little bit at the moment themselves, but at the end of the day, they hadn't had that shift that has to happen internally that makes a person willing to do whatever it takes to shift their whole thinking, their life, their well-being. Your houses are set up in a certain way. Do you have 2-3 people in a room? Is it ever that somebody gets their own room? Do you have bunk beds? What's generally the setup? We'll start off with Marcy.
2 or 3 to a room. My house manager has her own room. So one house is 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. The other 2 are 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. And I do get calls for people that would like a private room, but I send them to Linda because I think she has one private room. Otherwise, it's communal. Yeah.
What made it a private room? The size of the room?
No, I think, I don't even know how it started, but I think it was from a long-term resident that was in the house. And they wanted to stay with me for a while, and they weren't ready to, spread their wings out. They feel safe and secure. Sometimes they stay a long time. Kurt thinks I should kick him out earlier, but I get comfortable, they get comfortable, and, and I like
and if it's working,
yeah, and I like to have
it has to help the people coming in.
Absolutely, it's peer recovery support.
Yeah.
Built-in peer recovery support right in the house. And so I do have a private room, 2 private rooms. And, it's usually, if they've been there, the hierarchy, if you've been there a while, you paid your dues living in a room with 2 other women and all the craziness that goes on, then you get to a 2-person room. And then, if I have availability and the price is more, obviously, they move up into a private room. And it works out well, too, because I have a couple girls right now that have kind of crazy schedules, which I normally don't allow, but they've had some time in sobriety. They have to be at work at like 2:30 in the morning. And so they have the crazy shifts, 12-hour shifts. They come home at 2:30 in the afternoon. And so they have private rooms so they can sleep, because it's too hard when you have those kinds of schedules when you're in a 2 or 3 person room.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
What happens then? Does anybody wake anybody up? And do you have like air machines going? Like, how do you help people to be able to live together with different schedules like that?
Well, that's where those boundaries come in.
And
you learn how to build healthy relationships with other people. So if this one's getting up at 2:30 in the morning, or it doesn't happen often, but they have the different work schedules, well, take your clothes and go get dressed in the bathroom. Don't turn the overhead light on. Don't get on your phone and talk. But, it teaches them how to have respect for another human being and not be so self-centered, because I got to get up and I'm going to turn the lights on. I got to shuffle through my closet. Now I'm waking my roommate up because I'm not taking her sleep into my consideration. And so it's kind of, that's how it works. It's teaching.
Wow.
Those
I think
boundaries.
people need to learn that kind of skill set for everything.
Yeah.
For how to respect other people.
Yeah.
And so let's say somebody wants to have a room and they have children, or they're pregnant. What happens then?
Got really quiet.
We've all
Well,
done
it's not
that.
your
You've
fault,
done
Kurt.
that.
Oh, well, if it is your fault, then obviously they have to go to
The
a different
pregnant part
house.
is definitely not my fault.
Thank you.
I have a girl in my house who just had a baby 2 days ago.
Oh, so she's been pregnant. For how long was she in your house before she...
She was in my house she's been there the whole time. Well, 6 months. She's been
6
sober for like
months.
9 or
Wow.
10 months, I think. I don't know. I went and bought a changing table and a crib. I don't.
Uncle Kurt.
Can I share this story?
Yeah.
So
Oh my God.
I had a manager at my house at Fawn 2, which is right down the street from one of his houses.
Right.
And he was all really pissed off because I opened up a house down the street from the men's house. We're going to have problems. And we even had, you can't go visit the boys over there.
Oh, is this how the pregnancy happened?
Well, yeah.
Well, plural.
Yeah.
Plural.
So one of the girls in my house was hanging out with one of the boys in his house, and she got pregnant. He still lived there, and she still lived at my house. So when the baby was born, we called it the spawn baby because it was Smith's and Fawn house. It was the first spawn baby, and
Are they still together? Are they together?
they're still
There's,
together.
there's a few. Yeah, one of them.
Boy meets girl in sober living.
Yeah. Just the whole sober living experience, taking it to another level.
It's the Dauphine love story.
We've had kids in the house and pregnant women.
So there is no policy against that, or is there?
It just makes it challenging if you have a roommate. And I was able to afford her with a private room so she could have her child there. But you really can if you're in a shared room because you've got a baby. And it makes it a little bit more difficult. We do need more houses for women and children.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's such a need.
So what happens? Do they have more? Are they on Medicaid ever? Do they have any kind of benefits that way, that vouchers or whatever that help to offset the cost so that they can afford it and focus on, in this case, the pregnancy, but also on their sobriety, on just going to meetings, doing whatever they need to do?
Medicaid doesn't pay for sober living.
It's all private pay.
But there's some social service stuff.
Even for rent, though? For giving,
For rent, social service stuff, but not
social
Medicaid.
services.
Yeah, Clark County
No,
Social
I mean, there's some options
right,
out there.
Medicaid. What
It's
was
a
I
little
thinking?
less than,
What was I thinking? Yeah,
than
right.
what we charge, but, there's something available. It's just a part of life. It's just the way things go. Things happen.
Yeah.
People make babies.
Oh, yeah.
I can't turn a woman away just because she's pregnant.
I just know that if somebody is on, social services and they do have a baby, that they have more money coming in, at least to help with that. So
Yeah.
They usually do, and sometimes they can get up to 3 vouchers. In the old days, because I've been doing this a long time, we used to take them down there at 4 o'clock in the morning. They'd stand in line to get vouchers, and it was so crazy. But some women were getting vouchers, 6 months of vouchers, $400 vouchers. So, it helped.
Yeah. This last one, I made her manager, so now she has a job. So she can be there and run the house and raise her baby and figure it out.
that is good. That is good.
Yeah, she's in a position. She's been sober long enough, and she wants to learn more. It's a God thing. It was an open opportunity right at the right time. The last month of her pregnancy, she got trained, and we'll see how it goes.
That's beautiful. All right, we're going to take a break now. The opinions expressed here are strictly those of the people who gave them and do not represent any 12-step program or should replace your own intuition or professional medical advice. See you in a bit. Welcome back to The Real Recovery Show. You can watch us on Facebook, YouTube, and on Amazon Fire TV. You can listen to us on the PHLV radio app, or you can get our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And if none of that means anything to you, just go to themeetingspace.com and click on The Real Recovery Show, where we have every episode posted, and all the episodes stay there forever. So before our break, we were talking about some of the experiences that they have had in their sober living houses, where they had, people having to learn boundaries, or now so-and-so sleeping with so-and-so, and then so-and-so gets pregnant, and now what? And so when something happens in a house like that, it does create a very interesting learning situation for everybody that's in the house. And so life is in session inside this house. And so to help with, so when we're in our addiction, no matter if we started when we were really young or we started older on, much later on in life, wherever we start really depending on alcohol or drugs, we do not have the coping skills. We don't know how to be a team player. We don't know how to feel our feelings. We don't know how to have healthy boundaries. We are walking around with our skin on inside out sometimes. We take things very, very personally, and we may want to isolate, or we may think that we need to just control everybody and what everybody else is doing. And so we live in extremes when we're in addiction, and we numb out our feelings so that we can say the things without having any intuitive connection truly to whether or not something vibes right for us, whether or not it's the truth for us, whether or not it's the next right step, whether or not it's healthy. And so I could see that the benefit for being in an environment where everybody's focused on the solution, and that there are people who have more experience in recovery, helping them, guide them, introduce them to experiences where they can practice what they're learning in their own recovery. Whether they're in a 12-step program, or they're somebody who, do you guys actually have anybody ever stay with you that's not in a 12-step program?
I've had women in the house that were working church-based programs.
Okay. Like what? Like
Central Recovery, or just
Celebrate Recovery.
Celebrate Recovery, and just following, their inspiration that they get through a Bible or a church. And most women, though, they do follow the same kind of protocol and programs at the house.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So here, if somebody hasn't already been going to meetings, now they're going to be introduced to meetings. If they aren't necessarily working with somebody, they're going to be encouraged to get a sponsor, and et cetera, and to read literature and stuff like that. So we're going to take a peek inside of your houses, right, and what goes on inside there. And so just kind of paint us a picture of what you provide for somebody who is newly sober, to really learn new skills and set a better foundation, and meet and get close to new people in their lives, and learn how to have healthier relationships. What do you guys do? Whichever one of you wants to speak first to this. Yeah, everybody's looking at each other.
Okay. Well, first off,
everybody looked at Marcy, actually.
Yeah,
they can come in, and the bedding is all provided. Toiletries, we have some food, Wi-Fi. They're very comfortable homes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then required is that they go to 90 12-step meetings in 90 days, that they do get a sponsor, and that they are working their 12 steps. We have curfew, we have chores, and I do one-on-ones with my residents every other week, where I sit down, check their meeting sheet with the house manager.
So you do use a meeting sheet. I was going to ask that.
How they're doing in the house, do they have a job? What step are they on? I want to stay connected with each of my residents and help guide them.
Okay, and so for those of you watching that don't know what a meeting sheet is, sometimes it's court mandated, but anybody can use this as a sheet that just says the name of the meeting, the date, and the person that's running that meeting signs it. And because it's several different lines of unique signatures, it works for showing a judge that you're really working on your program and your recovery, but also so that somebody who runs a sober living house can know that you're really legitimately going to meetings. It takes a lot of creativity and talent to be able to forge that many different signatures. And if you're going to go through that much trouble to do that anyway, you might just put all your energy into just being recovery. But so yeah, so that's the basic structure, right? They know that they have a roof over their head. They don't have to worry about anything. They have the bed, they have the linen, it's all provided. They don't move furniture in, furniture's already there. So they know that that's good to go. Is everybody on a shower schedule? Do you guys do that, or do you let everybody just kind of figure that out for themselves?
Well, they don't figure that out for themselves. That's part of, learning how to get along with somebody else and have a roommate. So they communicate. it's a great platform for them to learn how to communicate with another woman in the houses, you know, and if this girl has to get up at work at 6 o'clock in the morning, you know, she voices that, hey guys, can I get into the shower? I have to be at work at 6 o'clock in the morning. Can I get in at 5 or whatever that looks like? So it really helps them to learn how to talk to people, because a lot of times they come in and they're, oh, I don't want to upset her. I don't want to talk to her about that, or maybe she's messy or whatever, you know, their problem is with a roommate. But we really encourage to jump right into a solution. You know, if you can't talk to your roommate about this, bring the manager in, or me, or a mentor to help give you some guidance and direction so you can learn how to communicate that to people. You know, those are all skills we need in the outside world, and they learn a lot of that stuff in sober living.
That's beautiful.
You know, I
love
don't care
it.
if the dishes aren't done at 10 o'clock. It doesn't ruin my world. But what it does is it teaches them accountability and responsibility.
Right.
You know, and they come in here learning those habits, you know, so.
Would you say, Kurt, that in your probably biased opinion, that the men's houses are easier for that, or the women's houses are easier for everybody getting along and having that kind of less drama, more order in the structure of it all?
I put 3-minute light timers, and then when they go off, they're done. Just kidding. That would be the great thing to do.
A light timer?
A light timer. So when the light goes off, your shower's done.
Oh.
Time to get out. Next person. It tends to be a little squirrely in the morning. With the women's houses, I just put more mirrors and stations for them to get
That's
out of the
smart.
bathroom. And
I thought you were kidding, but that's smart.
no, I put more. My house is full of mirrors all over the place. They can go hide wherever they want and do their makeup. I ask them not only to conserve water, but to hot water as well for the other clients. The men are pretty much in and out.
Yeah.
In the showers,
Do you feel like, because I know this is a misnomer that women are cleaner than men. Do you find that it's really a misnomer?
That is not true. That is not true.
Because I've been in men's bathrooms before, but I've also been in women's bathrooms, and I just think that there's no contest. I mean,
well, I have each person in the house gets to be assistant manager every week, so they're being trained to do all the checking and all the interacting, and then they all take turns, and that follows all the way through.
wow.
So they do chores every day. They do GI cleaning every Sunday, and then I go through and I check that every week. So they don't have an opportunity to not do chores or keep that house clean, or
Especially if they want to get along with each other.
yeah, well, and it's just we have bad habits. We're lazy, I mean, I make sure by every 8 or 10 days that everyone's washed their linens, because guys, that's where their guys are bad. They'll go months without washing their linens. You might as well just throw them away when they're done. So
Or just crack them into pieces.
just crack them, yeah. I mean, I was listening to what you were saying earlier, and there seems to be two kinds of people. The kind that had their life together at one time, and the kind that hasn't. You know what I mean? And
That didn't learn those
we
tools.
both have our own.
Yeah.
They both have their own areas for suffering. You get a blank sheet of paper with the guy who's never really had anything or done anything, because people are coming in younger and younger. I mean, I was addicted to crystal meth at 12. Smoking crack at 17. So I got sober when I was 28. I had no living skills whatsoever. So for me, I'm in the car. I get it. I understand the mentality that goes along with it. The people that had lives once, sorry.
Someone didn't turn their phone
I did.
off.
It was my alarm. It tells me to stop eating. But that's a whole nother addiction show. But the people who have had lives together and had structure or raised kids or had a career, they hit the ground running. And they're more apt to say that they don't need all this. And in a way, I think they suffer a little bit more because they won't slow down enough to do the recovery aspect of it, because they want to get right back into what makes them feel comfortable. The job, the car, the money, the stuff, and they associate that with having their act together. So they kind of skip the recovery. So my thing is I'm trying to get everybody to do recovery. I don't care what programs they do, but they have to do meetings as well. They can do anything else they want on top of it, but everybody has to get in line and follow the same program. If they don't want to, it's just not the place for them. There's other places that they can go. I don't feel like I have to force everybody to do what I'm offering.
Shouldn't have to.
No. And it's not for everybody.
Right.
There's many paths to the fountain. This is just one that I found works. This is my slice of pie.
Yeah.
If it fits your criteria, then jump in. Let's do this.
That's
if it doesn't, then go somewhere else. No hard feelings. I'm very connected enough to help people find whatever program they want to do. You know, there's many alternatives out there. This is just me.
Absolutely. And so what are some of the things that you do in addition to having them go to meetings that you know can help them learn new skills or be exposed to maybe having more humility or doing volunteer outreach or anything like that that maybe as a group you're doing together, so they have they learn how to work together, but also have a good empowerment to their self-esteem and to feel better about themselves, knowing that they're giving back to society and that they have worth, you know. Marcy?
Well, we've had a regular monthly commitment at the Las Vegas Rescue Mission where we serve the homeless their meal, and for the last 9 years.
Nice.
Whatever volunteer opportunity I'm aware of, I bring them with me. And we volunteered at the Mount Charleston Picnic, No Heroin. We're going to volunteer at the Gratitude Ball. I want them to be able to not only give back, but to see that you can really have fun in sobriety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important. The meeting space was not able to pay its rent, and your group was one of the people that came and had meetings, I think twice even, at the meeting space. So that actually felt really good to me, you know, because, I mean, we're all in this together. And, you know, through COVID, it was really difficult financially. And so, you know, even with Styx going and organizing something, and him having another club, you know, like, I think that the experience that someone can get being in a sober living house can teach people that, you know, we go into recovery and we think that we're terminally unique, you know, that we're either better than other people or we're worse than other people. And there's something about joining together for a common purpose and living together. Because they often say that the hardest place to work your recovery is in your house. And so when you get to be in a house with other people who are also in recovery, how phenomenal of an opportunity is that? You know, everybody being able to do that together, you know, you don't have to white knuckle it. So have you done any outreach stuff with the Fawn House? Have you, or what is it that you do in the house? Do you guys have meetings in the house? Anything?
Yeah, we have a couple of meetings a week at the house on Thursday nights, Sunday nights, and we're bringing another one in on Wednesday nights. We also volunteer at the Rescue Mission, and we also volunteer at Tintai. We've been doing that for years. We do the wall down there, the memory wall.
Oh, nice.
And wherever else we can show up and suit up. Also, for the women in my house that are on disability, they're required to volunteer every week, at least 10 hours a week. Sometimes they don't make all that, but they have to have purpose. You know, and we want to teach them how to have purpose in the house, that you are worthy and doing esteemable things by showing up for the community that we used to take from all the time. So now we can give back to the community.
It is true that when we're in addiction, we believe that we are not hurting anyone, that we are not being that selfish, that we're not even especially if we have any shame tapes, that we don't think very highly of ourselves. So how could we possibly be, you know, self-absorbed or whatever like that? But the very fact that our lives have grown to such a point in our addiction where the drug or the alcohol and the behavior that we're doing to get it to continue that lifestyle, the people we're attracted to, the people we surround ourselves with, the places we go, maybe more isolatory, whatever it is true that we have become the most self-absorbed, the most selfish, the most antisocial, even if we think we're partying with people or doing whatever, we are needing some sort of mental lubrication to be able to play well with others because we don't have the confidence, the skill set, the tools, and the people in our lives that are actually positive for us. I used to joke that getting sober was like trying to get clean in a mud bath. I grew up in a family where, you just leaned against my family tree and pills would fall out or bottles would fall out. Like, everybody had something and the thinking of it. So, and Kurt, you mentioned earlier about, some of these people already had that kind of foundation where they know structure and they know respect and stuff, and some of them didn't. I grew up in complete chaos. Both parents were addicted, and I didn't even learn how to use a fork and knife properly or even learn how to chew with my mouth closed until I was like well into my 20s. So sometimes it's just not even from being in addiction. It's just from growing up in addiction, then the dysfunction of it where nobody's teaching anybody any real life skills, And so if you grew up in an environment where you didn't really learn the things that are going to empower you and be able to play well in society, here's another opportunity where you get to be around people who have learned these things, whether before or during recovery, and then you can learn it by interacting with them and from just asking them questions. So that's really cool. So was somebody in is it always that your house manager, is it always somebody that grows up in your house, or is it ever somebody that comes from, maybe they managed a different one, or is it ever that, not that?
Not for me.
All right.
No.
One time for me, but normally we, you raise up from
I had
within.
a friend help me start Susan's Place.
Okay.
We had met. She helped me get it going for almost a year, and then went and did some other things to help me get started. But my mom was 10 years sober when she passed away.
Oh, nice.
And I named the house after her. She was in her addiction for a lot of years. She was a barfly, and I wasn't the best son.
Mm.
And she got sober when I was still in my addiction. I was still in my addiction when she passed away. And that's why I opened that women's house in the end, because I felt this urge to make some sort of amends with mom and help women. And now I was solid enough in my program to help others in their program. So that's how Susan's Place came about.
God, that's beautiful. Awesome.
Pretty cool.
I was going to ask you
mural.
when you said Susan's Place.
Yeah.
That's just beautiful. What
It's
a
the
great
coolest thing
legacy.
ever. When I'm over there, I get really choked up, and there's a lot of women in town now that have got sober there just in the last 4 years, and it's a miracle. It's amazing.
That's
to watch
beautiful.
Between all three of our houses, you can go anywhere. If there's a Davis House girl, there's
Yeah.
a blonde girl.
Yeah, you can almost tell by the
Susan's
way they
Place.
talk.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when
We're
you've been
everywhere.
around each other for so long, the training,
It's this huge
I mean-
tentacle effect that
Do you
happens.
yeah.
Do you ever have anybody back for reunions or anything like that?
They're invited. We don't have any alumni. You were going to start that.
I was,
I
but
mean, they show up. A lot of
They
them,
come back to our meetings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
I
do.
love it when they come back. I want to
too.
touch on the house manager thing
Oh,
too.
yes, please.
Like, I've only had one that I got from the outside, and that was when I first opened my second house. But I always promote from within, and luckily I've had wonderful residents that have grown up in the house. And I know that you can relate to watch a house manager take over, and it's so empowering for them that they are able to make these decisions, the self-esteem, and they grow more than I've ever seen any other
And
women grow as
and
a
in
house
public
manager.
too. Like I've seen on Facebook the posts and people when they end up finally deciding they want to leave the house, how there's like the tears and everybody's so close and and everybody's so happy for this person, and this you could just see like that this person, I just got the chills, how this person just transformed their life, and from going through that that environment like that. And yeah, I mean, one of the best employees, I've had several employees that I have hired from sober living, and some of the best employees because have come through all of your houses.
It's true.
Yes.
I am the best.
Yes.
My house manager of 3 years just left this morning to relocate, and it was a very tearful goodbye. You know, I met her when she was in jail 3 years ago,
Wow.
and
Wow.
yeah, so there's some really heartwarming stories,
Oh,
and
yeah.
people that become friends/family for life.
Yeah.
That's one of the huge benefits.
Oh yeah.
Are these people that become part of our families?
Mm-hmm. All we have to do is teach someone how to help others, and they help the others. So
Yeah.
if I help the manager helps everybody else. I know there's only one person that's probably going to stay sober in that house. It's probably the manager. You know, although there is more. But if I help the manager spreads that out with everybody else, and it is amazing. And you see the growth is way more steady with someone who's working with others.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And maybe one of them will open up their own place. Maybe somebody will open up another women's one, maybe for women with kids, who knows.
Yeah.
And so that was very inspiring. Any other inspiring stories? I mean, I'm sure you have so many, but anything that comes to mind that you just want to talk about, like, wow, this was a really cool experience, or anything like that, or funny stories.
Plethora of miracles.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Oh,
Plethora
so
of
many.
miracles. I remember I was in front of the Del Taco off of just past Rancho in Charleston there by UMC. And there was a homeless guy there, and he was a little rough, you know, and so I got a couple extra tacos and sat outside and invited him over to have lunch with me. And he stunk really bad. I almost couldn't eat, you know, and we talked, and I asked him if he wanted to go to sober living. He said he had a problem with drugs and alcohol. He didn't know what to do. Today he's got 12 years,
Wow.
a family,
Wow.
a house,
Wow.
a nice job. He's making 6 figures.
Wow.
He's a big participant in recovery. He does a lot of things. And that's just one. I mean, there's been thousands of people that have lived in my houses over the years. You know, there's just so many miracles. It would be hard to touch on some of them, you know, but that's one of the big ones that gets me because I still see him around, you know, and we have that thing. We have that bond, you know. It's just crazy to watch somebody who feels less and can't get out and jump in the hole with them and show them the way out, and they grab on and take advantage of the opportunity, and their whole life just opens up. Yeah, it's amazing.
I feel the same way. Everybody that ever works for me at the recovery store, they a lot of times they're really, really newly sober, and their ability to be fully present and remember information that you tell them, or there's just the bad habits maybe that they carried from even before their addiction. They tend to either make it and really work that stuff out, and you work with them, or it's the thing that stops them from being able to. But it's really important to let them know, like, this is something to work on. Maybe have a job that doesn't need you to do this right now, but this is something to work on so that you're able to get past that. And man, I own miracle stories of people just. I get very, very close. I live with my employees. Like, I see them, talk to them every single day. And one of them comes to my house almost every day. And she's now getting another new job. And because I kind of feel like the recovery store is like a get well job type thing for a lot of people as well. So this is beautiful. I love all this feel good stuff. And so what's been maybe your most challenging experience in it?
Snoring.
Yeah, we invest in CPAP machines.
Oh,
No. You can get compassion fatigue doing this sometimes, and it's really hard because we pour our hearts into that individual and their lives, and we can't want it more than they want it sometimes, and it's hard watching some of them go back out again, knowing where they came from. I mean, the broken homes, the sexual abuse, the living on the streets, the prostitution, I had a girl in my house. Oh gosh, she grew up in a family that their business was making meth, and that's all she ever knew.
Right.
And she showed up at my house straight out of prison. She had on a little pair of shorts that she couldn't button because she gained a little weight there, and a little shirt from prison, and that's all she had. And she came into our house, and I was like, "What are we going to do with this long rap sheet? Where's she going to get a job?" And finally, we were able to get her a job and get her into a program and start working, this process. And today she has like 17 years sober. She lives in a beautiful home on the beach, a little jealous, great career, loving family, and all these things that she didn't grow up with, she has now. And it's so funny because she was down, she called me a couple of weeks ago just to thank me.
Nice.
And what happened is she met somebody on the beach down there that knew somebody that was in one of my homes.
Wow.
They started talking recovery because, again, it's this huge
God
tentacle
shots
effect.
everywhere.
I'm like, oh my God. So in those moments when you get that compassion fatigue and you're like, oh God, how can I don't want to keep doing this. My manager's moving out and girls are relapsing and there's some drama over here. And then all of a sudden that moment comes and that phone call comes in, or you see somebody on the street and you're able to extend your help.
And you go,
to
that's
them,
why I do this.
And that thing, then the light bulb goes off again. Oh, this is why I do it. And then you pick yourself back up and you keep going.
That's the same thing that happens with me too. And people come and I watch them, whether they're getting sober or they're relapsing, and they're getting it. I get very close to people that come to the meeting space, and then, God, you just celebrate with them, and you know that they're celebrating because they come into the store to buy a chip or something, and you go, oh my God, has it been this long? That's crazy. Mm-hmm. I just love it so much. And then when they come in and they tell you how maybe that conversation that they had that day with somebody that worked for me or me, changed how they felt about meetings. It's just, I don't know, man, but it happens to me too, where all of a sudden you're feeling like, oh my God, this is so much work. Oh my God. And you lose all perspective.
Hope.
And then all of a sudden God goes, I think I need to remind you of why you're doing this. And then you get this real super feel good experience and you go, right, kidding.
Yeah.
Kidding. I get to do this. Right. This is
Yeah.
what I want to do. This is such the better life for me.
There's a stigma, though,
Yeah.
that people don't understand about sober living. Nobody showed up to sober living because life is great,
Right.
and because they're doing life great, And a lot of people look at, sober living houses. We're blessed with being able to run pretty solid environments, but it's by no means a get rich quick job. You know what I mean? Because these people that show up don't have jobs. Mm-hmm. They don't have money. They don't have ID. Mm-hmm. They don't know where their family is, or their family doesn't want to talk to them. Mm-hmm. So they're working from the ground up. And a lot of this that we do and help them get on their feet with our own time and our own money and not charging them right away and can only put up with so much. You're right. But in order to create that opportunity, it does become costly. Mm-hmm. And it's not like, wow, I got 10 beds, so everybody's paying me $600 a month. Look at him, he's cranking. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's several months in a row that I went without a paycheck, because there was too many people that I said yes to because I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it is what it is. And it's just part of the deal. Mm-hmm. And if you're getting in sober living to only make money, you're in the wrong business.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? That's the truth of the story.
We just talked about that on the way over here because we always get the calls from people, hey, heard you have a sober living house. Well, I have a piece of property. I thought I'd put a bunch of people in there, charge this amount of money, and I'm going to make all this money. And I always ask them, we all do, are you in recovery?
Right.
What is your motive behind this?
Right.
And I know with the three of us, our motives, I'll be honest, in the beginning, that was my motive too. I was a stay-at-home mom. I had a 2-year-old. He was my ride or die, went everywhere with me. Yeah. And Mommy, where are we going today? We're going to the bail bonds, honey. Or we're going to pick up a girl from jail. Yeah, he's an adult now. And boy, what I put him through. He's seen a lot. But, we just, our motive here, and I know that true because these are my dear friends, our motive now, it has always, except for that little bit in the beginning, has always been to help that person on the other side of the door. You know, because we all know what pain and suffering looks like.
It's a difficult line to walk.
There's nothing wrong with wanting to be successful and self-supporting. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you get to a point where your definition of success changes, it changes because you realize, I mean, COVID was a perfect classroom for that. You know, I blew through all my savings, and at the end of the day, I was like, but people are coming in thanking me for staying open, but, you know, people are healing. I mean, how could you possibly put a price on that? And then I don't know, not that I was obviously wanting to help people anyway. It was always a big part of my life. But of course I want to make money. Of course I want to be successful financially. Right. Hasn't happened yet, but we're on our way.
I went a year without a paycheck during COVID.
Yeah,
year.
I have not had a paycheck.
I don't know how we made it. Well, I do know how. It's a God thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, we made it.
Yeah.
Struggle was very real.
Yeah, we're gonna do a whole episode on recovery during COVID. I feel like, I know people probably COVIDed out, but we're gonna do one because there was a lot of stuff that was happening behind the scenes that people may not be privy to and might find it interesting. So, how does someone find out if rooms are available?
They call us.
Okay.
Yeah, we work our own
online.
phones.
Yeah, my number's always available to anybody.
Okay.
And then I have a website, and they can contact me by email.
What's your website?
thedavisrecoveryhouse.com.
Okay. All right. And how do they contact you, Kurt?
Everybody has Kurt's number.
Everybody?
Yes,
you can call the recovery store.
I am the
number.
directory for whatever you need. I got a guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you don't know his number, just call our store because somebody there will give you his phone number.
Any treatment center, detox center. My corporation is called Addicts Helping Addicts.
Nice.
So you can go to ahasoberliving.com.
Okay.
And see my website and my houses. And email me or ask questions.
Okay, good. And for you, how do people contact you?
Same thing. I'm everywhere. My name's everywhere. My number's everywhere. And I have a website, which I need to update.
Yes, you
I'm
do.
working on it and you relapse. Okay, so I was trying to help somebody.
She's in the dinosaur. She doesn't want to do it.
Oh, my goodness. DesertFawnHomes.com.
Okay. All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. This was a great episode, and I'm sure it's going to help many people to understand and let go of any preconceived notions about what happens in the sober living house, and maybe they'll either start one or they'll contact you so that they can go to your house as well. So thank you for joining us today on The Real Recovery Show. We'd like to give a special thanks to our sponsor and gracious host, PHLV Radio here in Las Vegas. See you next week.